Into the Coach and Company podcast. We are live most every single day to support the morning show. If you missed any of Coach and Company this morning on Stadium or Bally Sports Live, I encourage you to watch it on demand. While you're at our YouTube page, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can like the show and share it to the world. We don't care how you come to us. We just care that you come to us. Now, BTT Studios is one big studio, and we have a ton of sports content and pro wrestling content. So today we have no less than 5. We have this podcast, and we have Off the Rope, Sirius XM, Channel 156, Coach and Bro Show at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and the Monday Night Grind, breaking down both Monday Night Football games tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, with Big Tommy C, Raphael, and my guy who joins me right now here on the podcast, of course, from Sure Dog USA, my guy, Mikey P. So, Mikey, every single Monday, what's fun about this podcast is that we get to break down so many different storylines, a little bit deeper than what we have time for in the morning show. And yesterday, I said there are weeks where you look at a bunch of games and they look like they're going to suck, and then you have a great day. Yesterday was not one of those days, however. They did really suck across the board, but there was a lot of storylines that we can get into right here. We never go longer than 20 or 30 minutes because I know right now that you're laser focused on tonight. How jacked are you for your team to potentially show the world that you guys are really, really good? A win in Washington would really show me a lot and fans a lot tonight.
Truthfully, with the preparation of Monday Night Grind and some of the other stuff I do with the PTT Studios, I'm leaving the house today because if I just sit at home and listen to NFL Network and ESPN and talk about the Hail Mary and a revenge game, I'm going to lose my mind. So I'm taking my work out of the house, and I'm just going to wait and let the game and the plays speak for themselves. I'm not going to get too overhyped, but there will be some interesting things revealed on the Monday Night Grind.
It's so easy, though, isn't it, to get super excited when your team looks like maybe you're getting over the hump. It looks like, man, maybe we can be a legitimate team that people talk about when they talk about some of the best teams in the NFC. So it's exciting. And as a fan, I think sometimes we lose sight of that. And because we get so caught up in numbers and betting and all these types, instead of just saying, you know what, I'm a fan. And it's exciting tonight that we are 500 currently through 4 games and a chance to get one game above. To me, if I'm the Bears, I'm keeping things very, very simple like that. I'm not looking too far ahead of myself. I'm just looking what's right here. And Washington has also proven to be a team at 3-2 to stay with the Eagles. They also need a big win tonight. So both teams are very, very highly motivated for this evening at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, and this is going to be a narrative that we're going to hear throughout their careers, which is Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams attached at the hip. For me, 2024 happened last year. Ben Johnson said it last week coming into this game. We're a new team, meaning he and the Bears. Not me, I don't play for them. The Bears are a new team, but for Caleb Williams, here was Jaden Daniels, who took his team to the NFC Championship game, won the Rookie of the Year. You had 3 offensive coordinators and 2 head coaches in a disastrous season as a rookie. So, Caleb Williams, this comes down to you. Do you want to flip the script? Do you want to change the narrative? Go in, go back on the road, show out, and win this game.
All right, the other Monday night game tonight also is the Buffalo Bills. They're currently in first place in the AFC East, just one game ahead of the New England Patriots, who beat them a week ago. They go on the road to the I don't even know what it's called now. It's changed names. That dome has changed names 1,000 times, but they're playing the Falcons in Atlanta. All right, every single Monday, we like to look back on 4 or 5 big storylines from the weekend in college football and in the NFL. And when I look at the most popular team in all of the land, the most expensive, the most lucrative, it is somehow still the Dallas Cowboys. And Mikey, they can't get out of their own way. They go to New York and beat the Jets 37-22. Everybody's like, oh, offense is awesome. They're back, until you realize the Jets are maybe the worst team in football. See game yesterday in London for that example. But they go to Carolina, and the Panthers, they look like the better team. They got the ball at the end of the game. It was a masterclass in clock management, and they kicked it was either going to be kick the field goal or go to overtime. That was it. They made the field goal. So now Carolina, they're 3-3. Dallas is now 2-3-1 what did you make of the Cowboys stubbing their toe yesterday in Charlotte?
Well, after Jerry Jones got fined for flipping off Jets fans, I think the entire coaching staff and players on the roster should give Jerry Jones his own middle finger, because this is just ridiculous. You trade Micah Parsons because you want to get better on the run, and I'm not going to say his name. The Carolina Panthers running back runs all over you guys. And the entire defense just looked in shambles. Now, you could say it's scheme, it's coaching staff, whatever. No one seems ready to play. When's the last time you heard Trevon Diggs, besides Trevon Diggs gets beat for a touchdown this season? So Jerry Jones he's just ahead of himself. He thinks he's smarter than what he is. And now we're seeing it time and time again with this Cowboys franchise. They're an average team at best.
Compare some of the stats from yesterday. Williams for the Cowboys, who was the replacement as the number one running back, he had a solid day. 13 carries for a robust 29 yards. Now, George Pickens said, you know what? CD, you can stay on the bench for all I care. This is about me. 9 catches, 168, and a couple of those were next level, out of this world. Now, on the Panthers side, Rico Dowdle, 30 carries. 30. In the NFL, that's a ton of carries. 183. The second straight week he has gone over. There you go. Second straight week over 200 yards from scrimmage, because he was also the leading receiver for the Carolina Panthers. 4 catches, 56 yards. Maybe they found themselves an all-pro. I don't know. But Carolina now 3-3, maybe in the teams to watch category.
Quite possibly. I think there's a real conversation to be had. Remember, Rico's filling in for Chuba Hubbard, who's missed the last 2 games. So does Carolina have a running back dilemma, or can Dave Canales, their head coach, come up with a game plan and a scheme for their offense that makes them a 2-headed rushing attack to take what? More pressure off of Bryce Young, who played fantastic. 10 for 10, a perfect passer rating when he was trailing the Cowboys in the entire game yesterday. So props to Bryce Young, but you want to take as much pressure off of that kid as possible. He has weapons around him. Use them more. I think if they establish a real rushing threat, they could actually be a team to watch for the rest of the season.
You are watching the Coach and Company podcast here every single weekday. To support the morning show a little bit further, I encourage you to watch Coach and Company, the morning show, on demand at our YouTube page. Now, some other big performances from the weekend. Not beautiful performances, but solid, good performances. You've got Pittsburgh 23-9. They're now 4-1. And Aaron Rodgers, it almost feels like, Mikey, he has taken a specific attack to the season, meaning I'm not going to do a bunch of interviews. He's not on Pat McAfee. He's not giving people a bunch of bulletin board material. He's just going out there and saying, listen, I got a really good defense behind me, and as long as I throw for a couple of touchdowns every single week, we're going to win this division, because everybody else is hurt or they suck. What do you make of the Steelers?
I think Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers could have been the greatest quarterback coaching duo of all time, all things considered. Rodgers isn't talking. Tomlin's winning games. They don't look like a 500 football club this year. They look like a team destined to really be a threat in the AFC. Now, how serious? I don't know that I'm ready to put them up against the Chiefs or the Bills, but I do think Pittsburgh could be a team you don't want to see in the playoffs. So Aaron Rodgers being quiet is, I think, of what the NFL has wanted for years, and I really do believe Mike Tomlin's played a hand in that.
I saw so many accounts replay the Aaron Rodgers interview where he talked about what Aaron Glenn did during their making him fly across the country and sit there. And he was bitter, and now they're replaying it because the Jets look horrible with Justin Fields, and they set a historic record on Sunday, and not one that you want to have your name attached to. They're the first time the Jets have ever had -10 net passing yards in a game. Not a quarter, a game. We're not talking about a game. And it's the first time in 27 years that it's happened in the NFL. How can you be so futile around these parts when it comes to passing the ball? And I watched a lot of that game yesterday. 13-11. They lose to the Broncos, and it was punt after punt after punt. He can't even hit his guy between the 5 and the 5.
With all due respect to Walmart, great company, I think Justin Fields might be the Walmart Lamar Jackson. Everyone wanted Lamar Jackson to play a different position coming into the NFL. Justin Fields can't read defenses. He can't hit open receivers. He can only be a dual threat in a sense of he can bring a defense in with his legs, but he can't make that pass when needed. For me, also, this is the biggest testament to coaches in the NFL. If you want to be an NFL head coach, some people are very happy being coordinators their entire lives. If you want to be a head coach, please, I beg of you, coaches, making way more money than I ever will, make sure the situation makes sense before you sign the contract. Aaron Glenn, you thought, I'm Aaron Glenn. I'm going to tell Aaron Rodgers to kick rocks. Yeah, it probably hurts with those open-toe sandals you've got on, Aaron Glenn, because I don't know why you signed up to be with Justin Fields over Aaron Rodgers, and we're seeing all of that come to light. I just don't understand what Aaron Glenn's doing.
Well, I think at the end of the day, having listened to a lot of his interviews now, I think he wanted to make this his team. And he wanted to show the world, I can do this my way, and I don't need a future Hall of Famer. And it has backfired on him because he, like me, I have spoken glowingly at times about Justin Fields. He has moments where he can look like an all-pro. They're few and far between, and I see that now. I've come to the light and understand that he's terrible. And I can admit that now, even though for a long time I've been in the Justin Fields fan club. And I think that Aaron Glenn was in the seat next to me. That's my gut. Now, staying in the same division, as the Browns continue to stink, so do the Ravens. And if I would have told you after if I would have told you at the end of 3 quarters, Mikey, on night number 1, that the Ravens would be 1-5, I would have said, Mikey, me and you tomorrow morning are going to make a drive. It starts with a P test, and then I'll see you in 30 days. That's what it would have been like if we would have discussed that when they were ahead by 15 in Buffalo against the Bills, and then gave up one of the worst comebacks ever. This team, not only have they lost their quarterback, they've lost any mojo they've ever had under John Harbaugh. This is embarrassing. 17-3 at home to the Rams to fall to 1-5. And Mikey, in the AFC South, they are tied with Cleveland at 1-5, and now 4 losses in a row, and they are 3.5 games behind after 6 games. That's brutal.
And they sit with the number 2 overall pick through 6 weeks of this season. Here's the thing about the Baltimore Ravens. When you look at that, when you just say, let's look ahead to next year. Well, the Ravens always draft what? Defense. So you immediately are like, I don't know if a Caleb Downs makes sense. They have Kyle Hamilton. We know one thing. They don't need a quarterback. Are the Ravens crazy enough to take a running back that high? No, they're not. So for the Ravens, there is no quick fix to this. A lot of these teams, you look at a team like the New York Jets, maybe their fortunes turn around with just one selection, a quarterback. With the Ravens, it's, I don't know where we start to fix this thing. Health is one thing. We've spent so much resources on our defense. I guess best player available and hope he works out. I don't even know where they go from here.
I don't know if they know. And I also think sometimes, because there's certain franchises that run their teams like they're a college program. And I've always liked that. The Ravens are one of them. The Steelers are one of them. When you talk about coaches that are there for 15, 20 plus years. But at some point, you need to hear a different message. At some point, you need to hear a different coach, a different voice. And I think in Pittsburgh, and maybe they're being saved by this offense, but to me, when the narrative is, he's never had a losing season. Well, 9-8, we're bragging about that. That's what we've been doing the last 2 years in Pittsburgh. I think maybe the John Harbaugh era should come to an end. But you know what they're going to say, Mikey? Well, he's doing the best he can. He's losing all of his big-time players. But isn't that part of being a coach in the NFL, that when your team goes down, you keep them together? This is not keeping your team together when you give up 44 to Houston and you only score 3 against the Rams.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with a lot of these franchises, we saw it in New England, right? Gerard Mayo comes in and he takes over for the Bill Belichick. And then all of a sudden, Robert Kraft's like, ooh, maybe not. Oh, but Mike Vrabel's available. And we saw how quickly he was able to change that around. And Mike Vrabel has paid off. When you're looking at some of these long tenured head coaches in the NFL, I think there's real hesitation from ownership. What's the fan backlash going to be? Who's the right candidate? Because it's not like these NFL head coaches are just waiting in the wings. With all due respect, Ben Johnson can only go to one team, and he went to the Chicago Bears. But in all, you would look at maybe a Zach Orr, a guy who played for the Ravens, the current defensive coordinator. But then you look at what the defense has done this year, and you're like, oh, wait, maybe not him. So I think there's hesitation from these owners to go, well, if there's no one perfect waiting in the wings, we'll just let our longest tenured guy just stay here from now.
It does kind of feel that way a little bit. Let's look at a couple of performances, and I want you to tell me which one you think is better as I let Buddy in the door because he's losing his mind right now. Seattle goes on the road. They beat Jacksonville 20-12, and Jacksonville came in at 4-1, and they didn't even look close to the same team that beat the Chiefs. And then you had Tampa, who improves to 5-1, and all 5 games that they've had the first 4 were last minute. Then yesterday it was against the 49ers. 49ers fall to 4-2. Which do you think was a better performance, and who's a better team right now, Seattle or the Bucs?
Tampa Bay for sure. You can't ask me any questions about Tampa Bay because all I'm going to do is brag about Baker Mayfield. All jokes aside, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are doing great work without Bucky Irving, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and now Emeka Egbuka is expected to miss time. And in case you're wondering, Coach, yes, I'm bragging about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. I'm all in on this team. This is a team that is just bought in to the leaders of their team. It's something we do not see in the NFL anymore. We see standout players lead the way. We don't see a team buy into the culture and their leaders. And I think Tampa Bay has done that with Baker leading the way. Plus, you asked about Seattle. It's Sam Darnold now.
Well, he kind of proved us last year at the end of the season. You can have a great first 13 weeks, but you got to play 17 games. So right now there is a lot of hesitation when you're talking about Seattle, tied for first place, 3 4-2 teams in the West. Quickly look at the Bucs schedule. The downside to being the Bucs is that they play in an awful division. So they were a first place team last year. So they play a first place schedule. However, they still get 6 games in their own division. That's a bonus. So they have next Monday at Detroit, Monday Night Football. Not an easy place to play. There's going to be pissed off Lions all over the field, including Dan Campbell. And then they go to the Saints. So they win yesterday. So they're 5-1 now, 2 road games, then they're bye. Then, and I guarantee you, Mikey, when the season started, they did not look at this game as anything other than a dub. They better show up against New England. That's all I'm saying. And then they go to Buffalo, to the Rams. So a lot of their difficult games are on the road because at home they have 3 straight home games. Arizona, the Saints, Atlanta, then at Carolina, at Miami. So if they can get to week 13 in great shape, their final 6 games are all winnable, easily winnable. So the next 7 going to be really, really difficult for Tampa to remain in this 2 or 3 loss thing. But the fact that we have no undefeated teams left, does it tell you that there's more parity than maybe we've ever seen before? Or is the injury bug just that much bigger this year than what we've seen before to key players?
I think it's a little bit of both. And who doesn't love parity? Listen, the Kansas City Chiefs don't need to go 16-1 or 15 to become a Super Bowl contender again. That's my favorite thing about so many teams struggling. We're going to see a team come in with maybe 10, 11, maybe even 12 wins and be a legitimate Super Bowl contender. And that makes the NFL fun because we're talking about Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 5-1, Baker in the MVP conversation. By week 11, we could very well not be. We could be saying the Buccaneers could be out of the playoff race. So this is what I love about the NFL, and it's why they're $1 billion industry any given Sunday.
Any given Sunday. And no matter if it's a bad game, it still gives us something to talk about. Quickly, before we get out of here, two big things happen in college football we need to address. Indiana, biggest win of the year, going on the road, number 3, Oregon, and they look like the better team. And now they're set up because their schedule is not difficult at all compared to other top 10 teams, but also Penn State, who's on Indiana's schedule later this fall. They fire their head coach, James Franklin, after 12 seasons in State College. They owed him $49 million. You've got some really wealthy alumni because for people who don't understand how it works, buyouts are when a school goes to a bunch of rich dudes and ladies and say, you want this guy gone? I need $49 million. Because it's not going to come out of the school's coffers. And it's something that's not talked about a lot, but it does play into when, how, and if they execute a firing, because this is not chump change, Mikey. A $49 million buyout is the second highest ever in college football behind Jimbo Fisher, who signed that $100 million deal in Texas A&M, and then they paid him $76 to go away. And he's been living in Tallahassee his best life for the last few years. James Franklin, maybe he'll go to Tallahassee too. What did you make of these two? Which is a bigger story to you? Indiana getting that victory or Penn State saying adios to Mr. Franklin?
Well, I think James Franklin time wore out, but for me, it is Indiana. One thing on James Franklin, I saw a tweet, I don't want to sit here and say it's 100% confirmed, but I saw a tweet that Adidas was calling for the firing of James Franklin after the Oregon loss. So if a company of that nature is wanting you to make a head coaching change, you know the fire was lit under the university. Then you go and lose to UCLA. Then you go and lose to Northwestern at home. They were left with no choice but to do so. It's interesting we talk about these two teams because I know there's a lot being made about the Hoosiers head coach and, you know, he's everyone's flavor of the year this year in the head coaching ranks in college football. He will not go to Penn State. I'm standing on that right now. There is something to be said about building a legacy at Indiana. He's leading them to the greatest season we've ever seen out of the Hoosiers football team. He could very well have a field name after him if he stays in Indiana in the future. So I look at other candidates, but I think Indiana, they are a team to be reckoned with.
Well, I just got this sent over to me just a few minutes ago while we were doing this. And the newest odds are out for the next Penn State head coach. And a little bit surprising, you just mentioned Kurt Cignetti. He's at plus 600. And I understand the legacy that some of these colleges have. The Penn States, the Ohio States, the Notre Dames. I get all that. But why can't we at some point, Mikey? Because whenever we do this in real time or contemporaries, we go, wow, it can't be one of the best until they're 20 years done. Why can't Indiana turn into one of the best football schools? At one point, it was a long time ago, but Penn State was not a great football program. Ohio State, but that's a long time ago and people forget about it. But to me, you stay somewhere that has a lot of money. They're giving him all the resources he could possibly want. And now with the money you make by getting to the college football playoff, if he can get there just one time, now all of a sudden that changes everything. So who do you think the favorite to go to Penn State is right now?
I may have been doing a deep dive in this. I don't know the odds you're looking at, but I'm going to say Matt Rule, the head coach of Nebraska.
That would be correct. Plus 200. Who do you think, and this one would be a gigantic mistake, number 2 is?
I can't even begin to guess.
Bill O'Brien.
Oh,
it drives me insane when there's certain names that always – Lane Kiffin was this way until we realized that Lane Kiffin is an offensive genius. But for me, Bill O'Brien's had more big-time jobs and buyouts than anybody else in the NFL, in college, and yet maybe – and this is why you and I are not – we need to talk to Coach Phil on this one because we're not in the meeting rooms. We don't see the genius that is – but Bill O'Brien, as far as a head coach is concerned – Mikey, he's never been good anywhere as a head coach. Good coordinator. Well, what am I missing with Bill O'Brien and being the number 2 best odds?
I honestly think it speaks more about how much in the run and the leading candidate Matt Rule is. You have to come up with somebody to be that second guy, and Bill O'Brien, maybe it's just the wow and surprise factor. The worst part, though, Coach, I have to say this, Matt Rule is the leading candidate, and Dylan Raiola has 1 year left of eligibility. I guess we could see him at Penn State as well.
Wow.
I probably would never watch Penn State again.
They, oh, by the way, lost their starting quarterback to a season-ending injury on Saturday, in addition to losing the game against Northwestern. So there's potentially a spot. Signetti plus 600. Lane Kiffin plus 700 to go from Ole Miss to Penn State. Here's the other thing. If you've never been to Penn State, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, it is a gigantic university dropped from Mars into the middle of nowhere. There's nothing else there. I'm talking not within miles and miles of it. Have you ever been to Penn State, Mikey?
No, and I'm gonna let you finish because I do have a question for you about another big name university.
Oh, okay. It's to be a coach here, you got to be a great recruiter, because you're asking a college kid to go someplace that there's no nightlife, there's no city close to it. It's 2.5 hours from Pittsburgh. It is an hour and a half from Philadelphia. It is literally nothing but the university. So, what is your question?
Coach, I watched my Saturday morning college football really focused on Alabama and Missouri. And I understand renovations, but when you have a top 15 university and all I can see in the back of the end zones are bulldozers and pile of dirts, to quote the great Coach, what are we doing with the Missouri Tigers in their stadium?
At least move them for one day. For one day. Instead, you got all these cars handing to the play-by-play guy going, well, over there to the left, you can see that bulldozer. That's going to be $100 million building in 2028. I don't know. But it's also plays into how their stadium is not a full stadium. It's open at the end. It's always been that way. And I don't know. But they ended up losing by 3, so it was ugly on both accounts. All right, we never go longer than 30 minutes, and we're up against that right now, so we're going to end it right here. Mikey, I will see you tonight on Monday Night Grind. I've got my SiriusXM show 2 to 4. If you don't have SiriusXM, you can still get all of your pro wrestling needs on the Coach and Bro Show at 5 p.m. Eastern Time today as well. We love Mondays. We love it because of you. That'll do it for now. For Mikey P, producer man, I'm the coach. This has been Coach and Company, and there's only one, the podcast. We'll catch you later.